In this video, we'll be covering the news surrounding yet another batch of PlayStation 4 game reveals and updates coming very soon in the form of another PlayStation State of Play event that might be happening at the end of September. Coming from the ever-reliable ZHugeEX over on Twitter, he's broken a lot of stories before, so we'll talk about that. Final Fantasy VII, the remake, has gotten an absolutely insane trailer. I do want to talk about that. First look at the Turks, Ifrit, Shiva, and more. So much content. It looks wonderful. Obviously, that's coming out of the Tokyo Game Show. We were expecting a new trailer, and boy oh boy did Square Enix deliver on that. Final Fantasy isn't only coming back in the form of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, but Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered is coming in January. We've got the official release date on that, and we'll be covering that in depth as well. And Bioware says that they've got several big projects in the works alongside Dragon Age 4. Pre-production for that is going pretty well, and the fact that he says pre-production probably means that the game is pretty early in its development cycle. We'll talk that at the end of this video. But first up, yesterday it was revealed that Naughty Dog is hosting a media event for The Last of Us Part 2 on September 24th. This is probably where we're gonna see a lot of new gameplay of the title and hopefully a release date. Rumors are suggesting that the game will be released in February. Hopefully that is the case. However, it looks like Sony is gonna be rolling out some other information as well. Over on Twitter, ZHugeEX noted that The Last of Us Part 2 media event isn't the only Sony event that week, meaning I don't know what else it could mean other than the fact that a State of Play might be happening at the end of this month as well. It's been a little bit since the last State of Play. I believe the last one was right before E3, and that was a really good show. We got a lot of cool revelations and announcements on that, and of course, it was concluded by that great Final Fantasy VII trailer heading into E3, and of course, at this point, another brand new trailer, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that was a great show, and that was coming off the first State of Play event that I was pretty negative on. I didn't think that show was great at all yet. Stuff like Iron Man VR, a Days Gone trailer at that point, which was like, okay, we've already seen a lot of Days Gone. You don't really need another trailer for that game. And then a Mortal Kombat 11 trailer to round things out. Not a lot of surprises in the first State of Play, but the second one was really, really good. Hopefully with the third one being parlayed with The Last of Us Part 2 media event, hopefully it turns out pretty well. I would imagine that they would talk about The Last of Us Part 2 a little bit in the State of Play, but if it's happening in the same week, you would have to think that the media event would cover the majority of information surrounding The Last of Us Part 2, and maybe they'll use State of Play as kind of a tool to promote the media event, or the other way around, where they'll do the media event first, and then they'll parlay that into another State of Play to really hype up people about the PlayStation brand heading into this holiday season. I think that makes a lot of sense from a business standpoint and just getting people excited about PlayStation as a whole. While PlayStation 4 has been delivering incredible exclusive after incredible exclusive with their absence at E3, it's been a little bit since we've gotten a huge info drop regarding PlayStation as a whole, and a new State of Play event alongside this Last of Us Part 2 media event I think would do a lot. With The Last of Us Part 2, I'm really already sold on the game. I don't really need to see a ton more gameplay on that. I've mentioned that before, but all I really want from that is a release date for the game, and for State of Play, I would love to see some announcements, some game revelations, even if it's not a AAA big budget game. If we can get a brief trailer on Ghost of Tsushima, that's a game that I do want to see more of because it is a brand new IP. And I am incredibly captivated by that. If you want to show off other games from other studios, maybe Insomniac is working on a smaller project, maybe a new Ratchet & Clank, I don't know, I'm just throwing darts at the wall. But I would like to see some new PlayStation 4 game announcements. As we know, The Last of Us Part 2 is coming in 2020, Ghost of Tsushima is probably coming in 2020, and I would like to see a couple of other smaller projects in the works for 2020 as well. Games like a Concrete Genie or a Medieval Remake, which of course are coming out later this year. Let's start filling up the calendar with games of that size for 2020 as well. I think that would do a lot of good. So hopefully that does come to fruition, and I'm led to believe that it is because, again, the source is pretty reliable. Okay, moving on from that, the Final Fantasy VII Remake has gotten a brand new TGS 2019 trailer, and boy oh boy is it looking incredible. Square Enix has just released the Tokyo Game Show 2019 trailer for the Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's all in Japanese. I imagine it's going to be subtitled rather soon, but it's nearly a 3-minute trailer showing off a lot of gameplay, showing off a lot of cutscenes, the mini games, a lot of spoilers in there as well. So if you don't want all of the spoilers, I don't know, you're watching this video, so chances are you're pretty excited for the game and you're willing to watch the trailer. And I imagine the majority of you guys have already played Final Fantasy VII, and it's not like it's spoiling any major plot points, just some sequences out of the game. And that's generally going to be the case whenever you watch a game trailer, but man, that game is looking wonderful. Final Fantasy VII Remake really has potential to be a massive, massive release. I can understand why, from a Square Enix standpoint, they do want to segment this game's release into multiple parts, because people are going to buy it millions of times times over, and that's being that this game is going to be released probably 3 or 4 times, and each part of the game is probably going to sell north of 3 or 4 million copies right out of the gate. So you can see why Square Enix is doing that. I've just been very bullish in the idea that you really need to promote this game as an episodic series. There's no official confirmation in the title or from what I've seen in the box art suggesting that this game is going to be a multi-part series. We've just been informed through interviews and whatever the case may be that, yeah, it is going to be multiple parts, but I've said it over and over again. This is going to be the game that gets a lot of lapsed gamers, people that haven't checked out video games in a long time, where they're just in a brick and mortar store and they see Final Fantasy VII Remake on the store shelves and they're like, man, I played that game when I was a kid, let me check it out on the PlayStation 4. Maybe they own a PlayStation 4 now, but they use it more as a media streaming box and they play the odd game here or there, and they don't keep in tune with all of the gaming news that comes out. I know you and me, the people that are watching this video, the people that have been hyped for the Final Fantasy VII remakes since the announcement in 2015, we think one way. We've been following this game for so long, but there's another segment that this game is going to cater to. It's gonna be a gigantic mainstream game release that you have to make it abundantly aware to those people that this is just a portion of the game, and they don't go into it playing the game and then they just see the game conclude and they're like, wait a second, I played Final Fantasy VII back in the day. There's definitely more to the story than this. That's just all I'm saying, and it's a notion that I'm gonna keep on repeating when I talk about the Final Fantasy VII Remake because I feel incredibly strongly about this. And at this point, we haven't seen any clarity from Square Enix on that front, and I do want to go to bat for the people that, again, are a little bit of a lapsed gamer and they're going to be checking out the Final Fantasy VII Remake after, you know, not playing a lot of games for a very long time or whatever the case may be. Okay, moving on from that, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered is the other Final Fantasy game to be released in 2020, and we've got the official release date. It'll be coming January 23rd, 2020, announced by Square Enix, and they've also detailed all of the new features in the Remastered Edition, including online multiplayer for up to 4 players, play across different platforms with the cross-play function, so that is awesome, transfer save data across platforms with the cross-progressive function, added challenging new post-game dungeon and bosses, added new variant character skins for each tribe, added new items to equip, newly recorded narration, and newly recorded character voices. And it was noted by Square Enix, as far as the background to the game, long ago, a giant meteorite fell on the land and deadly Miyasama blanketed the world. Crystals keep the Miyasama in check, but the crystal's power is not eternal. Young adventurers embark on a journey once a year seeking drops of mirror to purify the crystals. These are the chronicles of the brave young adventurers who journey to protect their home. These are the Crystal Chronicles. The game will be coming to PlayStation 4 as well as Nintendo Switch. We don't have a price point announced, but it does look like it'll probably be a $40 or $50 release, which to some people, that might be a little bit pricey of a release, but Crystal Chronicles was a pretty good game, and this version is adding a lot of new content, so that's pretty cool. January 23rd, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised as how much anticipation there is surrounding this game. When I checked out the comment section, a lot of you guys mentioned that you're excited for Crystal Chronicles Remastered, so hey, maybe this is a game that some of you guys are a little bit more nostalgic with than me. It's definitely not going to be as big as, say, an FF7 Remake, but it should have a fan base all to its own, and by the way, it will be seeing a release on PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch, and how about this, iOS and Android devices worldwide on January 23rd. And lastly, I do want to cover some news about Bioware. Bioware General Manager Casey Hudson published a September update blog post on the studio's website sharing some of what the internal Bioware teams have been up to lately. It was noted by him, quote, "We have several other big projects in the works. I wish I could tell you more about them, but they're mostly super secret right now. I can say, however, that one of our projects has a large and growing team in Edmonton working through pre-production, and based on the progress I'm seeing, I can confirm that indeed the Dreadwolf rises." So I imagine that's something related to Dragon Age, and also he noted some information about Anthem, which is everybody's favorite game, of course. Obviously, that's a little bit of sarcasm, but nonetheless, he noted, quote, "Over the last few weeks, we've been ramping up our Cataclysm event in Anthem, a season-long event with new areas, enemies, challenges, and rewards. We have a big team working on Anthem in both Austin and Edmonton, and while it's been great to see the community response to Cataclysm, I know there's a lot more work to do to bring out the full potential of the game. We have plans for those more fundamental improvements, but they'll take time. While the team works towards the longer-term vision of the game, they will also continue to deliver updates to features and content. I believe in Anthem and would love to see its world grow, evolve, and thrive for years to come." I find that a little bit hard to imagine that this game is going to persist for many more years to come, but nonetheless, we'll see. He noted, "Thanks for your patience and support as we do the work of constantly improving improving and expanding the experience. Bioware definitely isn't everybody's favorite gaming development studio at this point, which is a far cry from how they were seen a decade ago. A decade ago, they were one of the top RPG studios in the world, and it was pretty much a notion that, yeah, whenever Bioware puts out a game, whether it be a Mass Effect game, whether it be Dragon Age, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, whatever the case may be, when it has the Bioware tag on it, you know that it's going to be a great game. That's not necessarily the case anymore after the release of Anthem and after the release of Mass Effect Andromeda. I really hope they can get back on track, but it looks like Dragon Age 4 has also had a little bit rocky of a development road if any of the other rumors are to be believed, but at this point it does seem like Hudson is optimistic about the game being in pre-production. That's gonna conclude this video. Again, it looks like Sony might be hosting a State of Play event later this month alongside The Last of Us Part 2 media reveal. Final Fantasy VII Remake has gotten an awesome TGS 2019 trailer. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is getting released on January 23rd, and it looks like Bioware has several projects in the works right now, including producing more content for Anthem and doing Dragon Age 4. That's gonna wrap up this one. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.